You ever feel like your truck's trying to tell you something? Not with alarms or warning lights, just a kind of presence you can feel. That night, I was hauling north. The highway was clean and snow whispered across the windshield. Nothing wrong, nothing off. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling the truck felt heavier than it should, like it was tired. I've driven this route 50 times. Every bump, every sound, I know them. But the hum under the seat felt deeper, slower, almost like it was breathing with me. I turned the radio off to listen, thinking maybe it was the tires. Silence filled the cab. Then one dull knock came from the trailer wall. Not loud, not threatening, just there. You tell yourself, it's the load shifting, always something logical. But the longer I drove, the more I caught myself checking the mirrors, not for cars, but for movement I couldn't name. Past the border lights, it got emptier. No stations open, no voices on the radio, just me and the hum of diesel. After a few hours, the line between sound and thought starts to blur. You begin hearing your own breathing through the fan. I kept glancing at the clock, same minute every time, 1:42. I thought it was frozen, but the miles kept changing. The highway signs looked wrong too, not unfamiliar, just off, like someone had rotated them when no one was watching. You start talking to yourself out here. That's what I did. Said out loud, "Truck's fine. Keep driving." The wheel buzzed a little, almost like it agreed. When the road's that quiet, even a lie can sound like proof. At the next rest turnout, I pulled in. Not because I was scared, just needed a minute to breathe. The air bit my lungs, sharp winter cold that makes every sound echo. I walked around with a flashlight. Nothing unusual, tires fine, straps tight. Except for a dust line on the back door, fresh, like something brushed against it. No footprints in the snow though, none at all. I pressed my glove against it. 5 faint smudges, not claws, not scratches, just pressure. I told myself it could have been a branch, wind, static buildup, but the shape looked deliberate. I climbed back in, shut the door, and the cab's air felt warmer, too warm, like someone else's breath had filled it while I was gone. Once you're rolling again, your brain wants comfort. It tries to file things away as handled. That's what I did. Turned the radio on, found the weather report, let the noise wash the thoughts out. But every few miles, the truck groaned, a low drag from the rear axles. I checked the mirrors, still nothing. You know that thin hum a diesel makes when it's idling just right? It started syncing with my heartbeat. That's when I realized it wasn't fear keeping me awake, it was attention. That kind of focus you get when you know something's there but can't justify stopping to prove it. And once that thought takes root, the miles start feeling endless. About an hour later, snow started again. Thick, slow flakes, big enough to look alive under the headlights. The road narrowed. Through the glass, I saw shapes that weren't quite reflections, soft, human-height shadows gliding past the cab and fading when I blinked. Could have been snow, could have been fatigue. I turned the high beams off, and that's when the knocking came back. 3 dull hits from the rear. Even now, I remember how casual they sounded, like someone reminding me they were still there. I didn't check this time, I just kept driving. You can't unhear something that wants to be noticed. By dawn, everything looked normal again. Truck ran fine, no marks, no noise. But the dashboard clock was 10 minutes ahead of my phone, and it shouldn't have been. The logbook showed a stop I didn't take, 30 miles back. The handwriting looked like mine, same sloppy 7. I gripped the wheel so hard my palms hurt. I thought about calling dispatch, but what do you even say? Hey, I think my truck's alive. So I didn't. I just drove home, unloaded, and parked. Normal day. Almost. Next morning, I walked out to start her up. The frost was thick, sunlight making it glow pale blue. I brushed the windshield clear and stopped halfway. There, on the inside of the glass, were 5 clear handprints. Same pattern as before. Too big for mine, too shallow to be real. I stared until my breath fogged them over. Then I turned the key. Engine started fine, smooth, like nothing had happened. But when I backed out of the driveway, the radio whispered a word, quiet, stretched. Could have been static, could have been my name. I still drive nights, same route. Everything works, no noises, no marks. But every now and then, I hear a soft breath over the hum, like someone steadying themselves right before a curve. I tell myself it's the heat event. I tell myself lots of things, but sometimes, when I hit mile 143, the steering wheel hums again, that same slow rhythm. And I swear the truck exhales. I keep my eyes on the road, because I've learned one thing out here. Not everything that rides with you wants to be seen. You know, that wasn't the only time something like that happened. I've got another story. Same kind of night, same kind of road. But this one, it wasn't the truck that fell off. It was the highway itself. I've been running the same route for years. Fargo through the border. 287 miles of quiet road. Same turns, same diners, same silence. When you drive that long, the road becomes part of your mind. You don't even look at the signs anymore. You just feel them. There's comfort in that kind of rhythm. Out here, time stops being hours. It turns into fuel and miles. That night, everything looked normal. The sky was clear. The road was dry. Diesel steady, until it wasn't. Around mile 187, my headlights caught the next green marker. 188. I expected it. But when I glanced down, the odometer said I'd only gone half a mile since the last one. A small thing, sure. But numbers don't lie out here. They keep you honest when the world's asleep. So when the road gave me an extra half mile that didn't belong, I slowed down, not scared, just curious. Like hearing your name in a room you thought was empty. The GPS blinked. My location hovered between coordinates. No signal loss, just hesitation. Like it couldn't decide where I was. I tapped the screen and it jumped forward, showing mile 188.9. That number shouldn't exist. The map only shows even miles. I laughed. One of those tired road laughs you do to keep your heart calm. It didn't help much. The hum under the seat felt heavier. I checked the mirrors. Nothing behind, nothing ahead. Just my own lights bouncing off snow. Probably a maintenance error, I told myself. But when I crested the next hill, I saw light. A soft orange glow bleeding through fog. Gas station lights. Thing is, there's no station between 187 and 189. But it was there, clear as day, sitting alone like it had been waiting. I pulled in, mostly out of habit. One pump, one office. Sign said 71 fuel. Everything looked new. Black pavement, glowing coffee machine, like it had opened yesterday. I stepped out. The air was sharp enough to sting my lungs. No wind, no sound. I filled the tank. Screen worked fine. Total came to 87.49. Inside, a young guy stood behind the counter, head down, like he'd been waiting for me. I handed him my card. He nodded once, ran it through, printed the receipt. Stay on 71, he said. Not creepy, just certain. like a man repeating something he'd already said too many times. I nodded, said thanks, grabbed the slip, and left. Back on the highway, headlights sliced the fog until it opened up again. Next marker read 189, back to normal. I told myself I was overtired, but I glanced at the receipt before tossing it in the glove box. The address read Route 71, mile 188A. There's no 188A anywhere on that road. Next week, same run, same time, same weather. Didn't think about it until I hit mile 187. Then I slowed, half expecting to see that glow again. Nothing, just darkness. The road looked like it had never hosted light. Still, I drove with my eyes flicking between the odometer and the signs. 187, 188, 189. No gap, no fog, just the clean rhythm of the drive. When I stopped later for coffee, I opened the glove box for napkins. That crumpled receipt slid out. I flattened it. Same price, same timestamp. But the paper looked old. The ink had faded like it had sat in sunlight for years. I checked my bank app. No charge for $87.49. No record at all. Not even pending. I laughed softly and tossed it back, but my stomach didn't laugh with me. Receipts don't fade in a week, and gas stations don't vanish overnight. Next day, I mentioned it to dispatch. Just casual talk, while signing off logs. They looked at me funny when I said 188A. Checked maps and permits. Nothing. Closest stop was 23 miles back. That was that. A buddy overheard and laughed. Said maybe I stopped at a ghost truck stop. I laughed too, but it came out thin. That night I couldn't sleep. Kept picturing that orange glow, the silence, the way the clerk spoke. Stay on 71. It didn't sound spooky then, just certain. Like he knew something about me that I didn't. A week later, I decided to check again. Left earlier this time. Snow came down soft, fat flakes drifting sideways in my beams. Somewhere around 186, I turned off the radio. Didn't want noise mixing with thought. When the next marker passed, I counted slow in my head. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. 10 minutes later, 187. I waited for the glow. Nothing. Then, for a second, the GPS froze. A small blue dot flashed on the map. 71 fuel closed, then vanished. My chest tightened. I drove another 10 miles before breathing normal again. Everything else worked fine, like the road had swallowed that glitch and moved on. Back at the yard, I couldn't let it go. I searched online, checked old maps. No 71 fuel anywhere. But a highway report from 1990 showed a way station right where I'd seen that light, shut down after a fire. I showed the map to an old-timer who'd been around forever. He nodded slow. Yeah, he said. Burned clean. They never rebuilt. Nothing left but concrete. I told him I'd fueled there 2 weeks ago. He just stared, finished his coffee, and walked off. The silence after that was heavier than the road itself. A month later, I ran that route again. I'd almost convinced myself it never happened. Then, near 187, fog rolled in thick. I slowed, hands tight on the wheel. For half a second, the horizon flickered. Faint orange light where the station used to be. I blinked, and it was gone. Fog cleared like it had never been there. But when I reached the border, the clock on my dash read 3:12 a.m. My logbook jumped from 3 o'clock straight to 3:12. No record of those missing minutes. Same gap that showed on the old receipt. I don't tell people about it now, not because I'm scared, because nobody listens when the world misplaces something small. I keep the receipt though, still in the glove box, stiff and pale. The address still clear enough to read. Route 71, mile 188A. Every now and then, I run my thumb across the paper, and it leaves a dry dust, like chalk. That's how I know it's still changing. Sometimes, when the fog is low and the air too quiet, I check my GPS as I pass that stretch. It always hesitates for a second, then catches up, like it's deciding which version of the road I'm on. I still drive that route, same truck, same nights. Everything looks fine, but every once in a while, when I pass 187 and the hum under the seat shifts slightly, I remember that clerk's voice. I can still hear him saying it. Stay on 71. It sounds different now, less like advice, more like a warning. I keep my hands steady, eyes forward, truck rolling. Because I've learned something about the road. Not every mile you drive belongs to the map. Some belong to something else. And if I ever see that station again, I'll stop, just for a moment. But this time, I won't pay cash.